What's going on, Wargamers? This is Budget Wargamer, and we are opening up the Adeptus Custodes Allarus Custodians. Now, I've already built a set of these guys and got them primered up, but I had doubled down on them because I knew these were going to be a BA unit, especially because I wanted to build out that shield captain there, and because I love the fact that these guys have got these Castellan axes. So, there we go. Seeing a little bit of lag on the camera. Hopefully it doesn't come out that way later in the video, but check those guys out. Basically, I don't think I'd build any of these with the Guardian Spear. You could certainly build your Vexilla with one of these because these guys have some special rules. We'll go over those real quick before we get in to building these Allarus Custodians. The tools we're going to use today are a set of Citadel side cutters and our trusty, rusty Citadel plastic glue. Alright, so we're going to set that aside. Let's go ahead and take a look at the booklet, because this has rules in here for you guys. Not just how to put them together, which we'll go through. Now, I've already built a shield captain. I don't know yet if I want to build a second one, because I think my other shield captains are probably going to be on Dawn Eagle jet bikes, which is a pretty broken sounding character. But inside this book, you're going to get the rules for the Allarus Custodians. I'm sure they're online by now somewhere, and you could certainly buy the codex, but there they are if you guys wanted to stop frame and take a look at those real quick. You're also going to get rules for a shield captain in Allarus Terminator Armour, as well as rules for a Vexilus Praetor in Allarus Terminator Armour. So these guys are like the Adeptus Custodes up to the next level. The rest of it's in other languages. So let's go ahead and get ourselves to page 1 of the instruction booklet. We're going to crack open our bases. Got 3 of them there. So unlike a lot of other Terminator boxes, you're only going to get 3 of these guys in this unit, or in this box set. So we're going to be looking for parts 1 and 2. Let's find out what sprue we've got. This one should be it. So here we are. And all these guys tend to have capes, so if you're not one to actually like painting capes, I found with these Adeptus Custodes, as I've unfortunately glued so many together and just ventured into painting them, that maybe you should prime the capes separately and then come back later and paint underneath it, so on and so forth, and glue it on. I don't generally glue models in pieces, but I can see where it would definitely make this process a lot easier. So if you've got one of those like tools that help scrape off flashing and stuff like that, that would be handy always with plastic. Get mold line remover, I think they call it. So we're going to go ahead, get this nice easy flowing thin super glue, plastic glue, sorry. And got to put a little bit more up there. Sometimes it pays to test fit, but I'm not perfect. So, boom. Moving right along. Alright, now we need step 5, so the feet are separated, which is interesting. Let's hopefully not have to spend all day digging around on sprues for fancy parts. We're going to need part 6 here coming up, which is the armor that goes on his foot. So we'll clip off that because I found that. There's part 5. Just a foot by itself, pretty much. Not even a complete foot. Let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit. Alright, get a little bit more into that field of view. So now we're going to need to slap a little glue underneath. Press that foot on. Find the nice happy place for it. And then let's get some glue laid down for this armor here. So it takes a little bit of time putting these guys together because they come in so many more pieces than your custodian guard. But just keep that in mind. Well worth it. I think a lot of people will be dreading seeing these guys on the battlefield, at least until they first figure out how to handle them. They're tough. No joke about that at all. course, I haven't played with them yet, but when you look at their stat lines, these guys are like, it's like bringing a company master and Terminator armor to the table as a elite choice. So a unit of them, mind you. And this unit can deep strike because they've got the special rule from Golden Light they come. So these guys are definitely tactical. You don't have to use the stratagem of the Adeptus Custodes, although they do have a stratagem that allows you to deep strike even with some other units, so adds to some versatility. There we go. So we're getting the main bulk of the body situated there for the first model. Not sure if I want to proceed with gluing on that cape yet. That's TBD at this point. Let's go ahead and glue him down to his base. Let's get that started. Doesn't say to do that in the instructions, but I'm a rebel. Alright, so let's look strategically. Yeah, we're going to have to glue that cape on here because that's the only way that the rest of his armor is going to make sense. So unless you test fit it otherwise and make your own determination, looks like we're not going to be able to get away with doing this separately. So there we go. Yep. Oh well, we tried. Alright, let's get a little bit of glue in there. We're going to want to put a little glue here down his hips, where it's going to make contact with the rest of the model too. Boom. Alright. Got to press that cape in a little firmly. It didn't quite fit even on my last attempt. So when I built the Shield Captain optionally out of the other kit that I had bought, didn't line up quite right for me on that kit either. Alright, so now we need 11, which is going to be his thigh armor. Pay attention between 11 and 10, they are different. And there's going to be this little tiny piece. Come on, autofocus. You're going to want to line that up with the chain that's around his hip on both sides. So when you put on the opposite side, you're going to want to make sure you line that up because it's aesthetically part of a chain that goes onto his armor, just to give you a heads up. Learn that the first time around. So I actually just skipped ahead, kind of unintentionally. I was trying to do things symmetrical. It's okay, it's going to work out. There we go. Here's how we're looking so far. There. Alright. So I turned on more points of autofocus on this video. Hopefully that'll help. I'm still liking the onboard audio, but I do have some options, some off-board audio that might help improve things for later videos, so I'll experiment with those on the next one. I almost put my external mic on for this one. Just to test it out. I should have. I had it in my hands, but I didn't. Call me lazy. Alright, now we're gonna glue that ballistic grenade launcher. So these guys each have a grenade launcher on each wrist, which is fantastic. And then they've each got a bolter type weapon on their axes or their guardian spears, depending on which one you prefer. So, all right, now we got to glue this arm in place. Go ahead and put some glue there in the shoulder. Find the flat part. So this guy is basically like shooting someone in the shins with his grenade launcher at this point. You'll be left over with a few bits after building this kit out, but I'm not quite sure, you know, what I would do with all the bits at this point. You know, it's not like you got enough bits left over after even putting together an entire army that you would be able to build even one extra dude. Some armies are like that though, you know, you end up getting so many torsos or so many extra pieces, or at least the GW kits used to be that way, that by the time you've built up enough boxes you can kind of mangle together your own extra dude out of pieces, but seems to not be the case these days. I still kit bash though. Alright. So this is optional. If you want to put the Misericordia onto his back, do it. Do it. Alright, so let's find his Misericordia. And they all are unique to each person, so make sure you pay attention to the instructions. There's a little bit of groove on the back of them that's intended to fit into a particular place on this model. So it's not just a generic piece. And that's going to, let's take a look. There we go. There's only one place it feels right, and I just found it. Oh, shoulder pads lifting off. Try not, since you won't be doing these at home for the sake of video, don't rush it, especially if you've only got one kit of them. I saw a guy, presumably a guy, who posted online that they said they have a problem. They posted up all the boxes of Adeptus Custodes that they've got. If he's got a problem, then I shouldn't be talking. I should probably be worried about myself with how many I've got. See, I had planned on building out a 2,000 point army before I even knew. You know, this is like last year, sometime last year. It wasn't a full year ago, but I had already planned on building out a 2,000 point army before they even had announced a codex or anything like that. Just as soon as I saw these guys, and then they got official 40K rules instead of just being in the Burning of Prospero box. So I bought 35, so I think 7 boxes of the Custodian Guard. Just the Custodian Guard. That was brutal. But I've only got 2 more of those, I think, to put together. The rest of them are all assembled, and now, as of today, they are primed in Retributor Gold Spray. So, finally got the Emperor's Golden Bananas. Golden. Now on the instructions, it's going to tell you that this is part 13. It's a typo. This shoulder pad is part 53. Part 13 is actually the Castellan Axe blade. So I spent about a minute the first time around, confused and looking all over the place. Maybe that'll save you from doing the same, but it'll make sense. You'll know exactly what it is. It's just saying, hey dummy, go grab his other shoulder pad. Each shoulder pad's got a nice little dot, a divot, whatever you want to call it, that it sits on. A nipple, dimple. And look how much progress we've made here with dude number 1. We still got a few more pieces to put onto him. So before we put the eagle around his head, we need to choose a helmet. I'm not really going to try to spend a lot of time painting these guys. I find the Adeptus Custodes to be quite easy, so I'm going to just take a helmeted head, something that holds up well to dry brushing. This bottle of plastic glue I got never had one where the syringe part of it just would not stay put. This syringe part just wants to keep going in. So I'm going to hold this here for a few seconds. Otherwise, what I tend to find out if I don't hold it for like maybe 30 seconds is that the heads start to do a dip. They start nodding off on you because they don't have a flat bottom. They have a rounded bottom. And so they just kind of lean forward where the chin, I think they're front heavy. I don't know if that was 30 seconds or not, but we're making progress. These guys put shame, in my opinion, put a lot of shame to even the Grey Knights. If you've collected Grey Knights and put together those little termies that they've got, paladins, termies, whatever you want to call them, I built an army of those. Don't know why. It was a whim. Again, I guess I have a problem, right? But yeah, so I did that, and I thought those guys were awesome. There's definitely a lot of bits left on those sprues for conversions and stuff. I've used my Grey Knight sprues from all those models I've built to convert other models since then, Inquisitorum style stuff, but you're not going to get as many leftovers with any of the Adeptus Custodes kits. And these armors are so, if you want to call them unique, they're so intricate and so different that they, you would have to be more creative to use these bits on a traditional Space Marine, I think. So we're holding that eagle down. They've got an eagle on the top of their head. And then on top of that, I hate these. I don't like these. Let me go on the record as saying I don't like these fancy horsetail plumes. I should have built my army without them, because I can already tell they're going to break during transport and stuff. But that, my friends, is numero uno. So that's how you build an Adeptus Custodes Allarus Custodian. Now let's spend the last couple minutes going a little bit more in depth into their rules, because we don't need to build out the other two. That would just be like an hour-long video, and I think those tend to be boring. So if we were taking a look at the Shield Captain, which is definitely on foot the way to go with building out your Allarus Custodian. There we go. Get you as zoomed in as possible. 6-inch move, 2+ weapon skill, 2+ ballistic skill. You've got a strength of 5 and a toughness of 5, as well as 7 wounds, 5 attacks, leadership 9, and a 2+ save. So that 2+ save is going to be very easily backed up with, he comes with a 5+ invulnerable save because of Aegis of the Emperor. But once you've created a battle-forged Adeptus Custodes list, one of their special rules is that their benefit is that you get to add +1 to their invulnerable save, up to a maximum of a 3+, so you can't get a 2+ invulnerable save out of it, which would be crazy for the Dawn Eagle Jet Bike Shield Captain. But so he's going to have a 2+ armor save and a 4+ invulnerable save if you build out a battle-forged unit. He's got 2 different shooting weapons. He's got the Ballistus. Oh, I got too much light. There we go. He's got a Ballistus grenade launcher, and he's got a Castellan axe. So you're going to be able to shoot with both weapons if you want to, or if you don't want the hindrance of rapid-fire weapons and want to use assault only, you have choices. So within 12 inches, though, you could lay down some good firepower. You've got assault D3 on the Ballistus grenade launcher, which is a way of representing the small blast template, basically. But that's a small blast with AP -3. So crazy on that. You're going to be knocking people with a 4+ armor save back to nothing. And then even the Castellan axe has a -1 AP and does 2 damage in shooting. So that's a good weapon right there at 24-inch range rapid fire 1. Now in hand-to-hand combat, this is where the difference between the Castellan axe. So if this is the first time you've seen the stats for Castellan axe versus the well-known Guardian Spear. The Guardian Spear is nice because it bumps you up to a strength 6 with -3 AP and D3 damage. The Castellan axe takes you a bit further. That's going to bump you up to a strength of 8, which means you're going to wound basically everything on a 2+, and you're going to have only a -2 AP with D3 damage. But depending on the type of units you're fighting against, sometimes strength 6 is definitely more than enough. But if you need that strength 8 to be able to take on things, Tyrannid monsters, dreadnoughts even, there's certain things that Castellan axe kind of becomes a can opener. Plus you've also got the Misericordia, so don't forget this. It's still only going to be at strength 5, but it has a -2 AP, and it's an additional attack. So you're going to get your 5 attacks with the Castellan Axe, and then a 6th attack with the Misericordia. Now, here's some other things that it's going to be key, because now that you're going to be hitting on 2s, most likely, and you're going to be wounding on 2s, he's got the rules of Inspirational Fighter, which means you can re-roll rolls of 1 made for friendly Adeptus Custodian units within 6 inches of this model. So that includes him. Now from Golden Light, it says during deployment, you can set up this model in a God Strike pattern teleportation array instead of placing him on the battlefield, and yada yada yada, he deep strikes, and it doesn't require the use of a stratagem. So Vexilus Praetor, this is the shield bearer. He's also got the deep strike ability. You're not going to be able to give him a Castellan Axe, but he does get the Ballistus grenade launcher. So he's at least got that plus a Misericordia, so he's still going to have 5 attacks in hand-to-hand combat. But only one of them is going to have the -2 AP. The rest of it's all just standard punching, so that's unfortunate. Unless somehow they rule that if you have only a Misericordia that you can get at least the -2 AP from it at all times, that would be great. There's your choice of Vexilus on here, 3 of them. And depending on how you use them, there's one that affects Imperium units, and then one that affects only Adeptus Custodes. So if you're playing this as a detachment in another list, like the Imperial Guard, you can take the Vexilla Defensor. Gives all Imperium infantry a 5+ invulnerable save while they're within 9 inches of this guy, which is great, especially considering you could deep strike them. The Magnifa says your opponent must subtract 1 from to hit rolls in the shooting phase that target Adeptus Custodes units within 6 inches of them, so that's good. Means that Marines are going to be hitting on 4s instead. Other armies will be hitting on 5s. Orcs will be hitting you basically on 6s, so that could be handy. Tyrannid probably will be hitting you a lot on 6s. Adeptus Custodes here, other than vehicles, add 1 to their attacks characteristics while within 6 inches. That's the one, I think, and especially considering you can deep strike them. You can kind of, if you needed to, you wanted to be full cheese, you can hold him in reserves, deep strike him in right when you need his buffs, but you do have to remember you got to stay a certain number of inches away from the enemy. Here's the basic Allarus Custodian stats. So keep in mind you got a unit of these dudes. And that's not even in English. Hang on here. That'll do some of you good, but since we're talking about English here, we've got movement 6, which is great for a Terminator. It's not your 5 and it's not your Death Guard 4, so they're fast basically. 2+, 2+, 5, 5, 4 wounds, 4 attacks, 2+ save, base of 5+ invulnerable save, but they're going to end up having a 4+ invulnerable save if you build out a Battleforge list. They have 2 shooting weapons apiece, plus you got the Castellan Axe or the Guardian Spear choice, go for the Castellan Axe, and they have the Misericordia. So if you do have to pay extra points for the Misericordia if you're playing a points list, keep that in mind. But they've got the rules of from Golden Light for Deep Strike and also Slayer of Tyrants. So when models in this unit pile in or consolidate, they can move up to 3 inches towards the nearest enemy character, even if he's not the nearest enemy model, so long as they finish this move within 1 inch of an enemy unit. So that's strong because then you can basically character hunt with them, and they do have in their codex a stratagem that allows you to take this unit, regardless of its size, for a certain number of command points and break them up immediately, turn them into individual units, which will also make it harder for your opponent to kill all of them at once, since they'll have to target them separately. Lots of potential rules with them. That's the Allarus Custodians. You guys need to be picking these up, especially if you're playing Adeptus Custodes. Otherwise, you might want to pick them up to be able to play as a detachment from your primary force.